So now we'll look at our 9.4. So we're on page 77 now, and we're going to look at exponents. When multiplying, we're combining the letters, and that changes the exponents. When dividing, the letters are being canceled out, and that also changes the exponents. So here's a few examples. This says that I have a times 2a. Now remember that multiplication, this is all multiplication. It really just means a times 2 times a. And multiplication can be done in any order we want. Here's an a and here's an a. That means I have an a squared. So we would write the answer as 2a squared. Let's look at b. This says 2x squared. Remember that really means 2 times x times x. And then we have times 3xy, and that really means 3 times x times y. This is all multiplication, so we're just putting things together. 3 times 2 is 6. X, we have 2 x's and another x here. That means 3x, so we would write x to the third. And then we have this y on the end. 6x cubed y. This part C, this really means 4 times a times b, and then times 2 times a. So the 4 times 2, we get 8. Here we have a, and a. That's 3 a's. That'd be a cubed. And then a b on the end. 8a cubed b. And we usually write the letters in alphabetical order. So the a before the b, the x before the y. So let's look at D. This really means x times y times y. That's this part right here. This part means 2 times x. And this part means y times y. So we're just putting things together. We'll put the number in front, the 2. Here I have 2 x's and another x here. That means 3 x's. And then here I have 2 y's and then 2 more y's, so that makes 4 y's. 2x cubed y. Now E looks a little different, but we really want to take this part that's in front and multiply it by both pieces. So let's write that out. We have negative 2a squared b, and we're going to multiply it by a squared. And then we have a negative 2a squared b, and we want to multiply it by a negative 3b squared. So let's look at the first piece. Here there's no other number, so we'd have a negative 2. This means that I have 2 a's and then 2 more a's, so I'd have 4 a's and then 1 b. Over here we'd have a negative 2 and a negative 3 is a positive 6, so I'd have plus 6. I only have 2 a's, so I just keep the 2 a's. But here's 1 b, and then here's 2 more b's, so that makes 3 b's. Now remember, I can't put these two together because the exponents on the letters don't match. They're not like terms. So let's talk about division. In example A says that I have 7 x's on the top and then 3 on the bottom. So we can cancel out x's that match on the top and the bottom, and that leaves me with 4 x's on the top. And things that get canceled out leave a 1 in their spot, so we have x to the 4th over 1. And x to the 4th over 1 is just x to the 4th. It leaves a 1 because if we take 5 divided by 5, we get 1. Or 2 divided by 2, we get 1. Anytime the top and the bottom match, we get 1, so the same is true for letters. X divided by x is 1. So that leaves a 1 there. So let's look at B. B says I have 4 x's on the top and 6 x's on the bottom. I can cancel things out. Now remember, when things cancel out, that leaves a 1. So there's a 1 on the top here, and an x squared on the bottom. Let's look at C. C is 6 times A, 6 A's. and then 2 with 3 a's on the bottom. So the letter part the number part we just divide. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The bigger number is on top, so that 3 is on top. Cancel out the a's. That leaves me a cubed on the top. So everything on the bottom was canceled out, which leaves a 1 on the bottom. If the 1 is on the bottom, dividing by 1 doesn't do anything, so we just have 3a to the third. So our last two examples here, let's look at this. This would be a negative 12 divided by 4 is a negative 3 for the number part. The 12 is bigger, it's on top, so that negative 3 needs to be on top. Now let's think about these a's instead of writing them all out. We have 1 a on the top and 5 a's on the bottom. So we would cancel out one of the a's, and that leaves 4 a's left, and they would be on the bottom because we had more a's on the bottom to begin with. So this is my final answer. One last example is a little bit like example E on example 1, part E on example 1. Each part on the top has to be divided by the 2x squared on the bottom. We just keep the signs that are in between. It's like distributing, only it's division instead of multiplication. So we're going to do each of these little problems. So here we do 4 divided by 2 is 2. Here we have 5 x's on the top and 2 on the bottom. So 2 would cancel out. That leaves me 3 x's, and there's more on the top, so the x's would be on the top. Keep the minus sign here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We would have 4 x's on the top and 2 on the bottom. Cancel out 2 of them. That leaves me with an x squared on the top. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And this has 3 x's and then 3 x's, so the 3 x's would each cancel everything out, and it just leaves me with a 3. Nothing on the bottom. So my final answer would be 2x to the third minus 4x squared plus 3.